Hello, everybody. I'll wait a minute or so and let people join before I start. Can you guys see me good if I put it horizontal like that, or does it mess it up on your end? Hopefully, someone responds to that. I need to. Sorry, guys. This is my first time using this Facebook Live feature, so. Okay. I'll assume that Joe Jacobson's bad comment was referring to the horizontal video. So I will do vertical. Okay. All right, we'll do vertical. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And people who miss will be able to, I'll leave it posted on the site, on the Facebook page, so people who miss can go back and watch the video. I've got some notes that I've taken. I'm going to follow my notes, some things I want to address, and then after I'm done going through that, I'll open it up to questions. So my suggestion would be to hold your questions while I'm going through my thing, because I probably won't see it, or if I see it, by the time I get to questions, I'll have forgotten what you've written. So basically, my notes are based on a flood of questions that I've been getting, and I've kind of taken the most common questions that I've gotten, and I want to try to answer those first. And then anything I leave out, you guys can feel free to ask me. So my name is Ryan McKnight. I am the founder of MormonWikiLeaks.com, although I'm not the only person involved, and I'll get into who's involved here in a second. But just a little bit of background about me and how I got involved into this project, because that's definitely the most common question I get. I've been an ex-Mormon for about 3.5 years. I was an active Mormon from the time I was born until I was 32. And I won't get too much into the reasons why. I've done podcast interviews in the past about those reasons, so people I'm sure can go back and listen to those, or maybe it's a conversation for another day. But for a long time, I was just a random ex-Mormon. I participated in online forums, both in Facebook and Reddit mostly, as a way to let off some steam, express my feelings and things like that, find a community after having lost a lot after leaving the church. And basically, through really what was happenstance, literally being in the right place at the right time, last November, I ended up being involved in the leak of what has been termed the November policy. And that occurred on November 5th of 2015. Many of you watching this may know about what I'm referring to. For those that don't, the LDS Church created a brand new policy and attempted to roll it out quietly through their handbook of instructions, which is only available to bishops and above. And the Cliff Notes version of the policy is that children of LGBT people are not allowed to be baptized in the Mormon Church unless they meet two criteria, one being they're 18 or older, and two being that they disavow the same-sex or LGBT union of their parents, or the parent. And so that was a new policy. That was a new direction for the church. And I found out about it through a private Facebook group that someone posted it in, and I put it on Reddit and a Facebook page that goes by the name of Mormon Stories Community. And so basically, I was the first person to sort of put it out there to a wide audience. And at the time, the person who I got it from in this private group wanted to stay anonymous. So initially, I had kind of got dubbed as the quote unquote leaker, because I was willing to have my name attached to it. That person has since come out and been okay with their name being attached to it. I'm not going to say their name right here because I haven't cleared it with them and I don't want them to get any unwanted attention, but they have written a blog post about it. So I'm sure that if somebody, a Google sleuth or something would be able to find out who that is and read their blog post. So I dubbed the leaker. I started getting contacted about once a month from people. Most of them were employees of the church, a couple of former employees, and they all had what they claimed to be things that needed to be out in the public sphere. And to be perfectly honest with you, a lot of times what they said wasn't as interesting as they thought it was, at least in my opinion. And I just, I kind of didn't really pursue it very much. And in some cases, they would say things that were extremely interesting, but they really had no proof behind it. But there were a couple little things here and there that I would put out on Reddit. Nothing that really was newsworthy. And then in October, I was contacted by somebody and given a set of 15 videos that they were closed door meetings involving the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, which is basically, for those that are not aware, that's the governing body of the church. And it was basically meetings of them getting briefings on various different subjects. And I created a YouTube channel, which is still up, and you can still visit that. The name of the channel is MormonLeaks, and you can go and watch those videos. Those videos did get some media attention, starting in Utah. The Utah media covered it, and then it ended up being a story in the New York Times. So, and there were various reasons, and maybe I'll get into later, but there were various reasons why these videos were newsworthy. But the point being is now, more than ever before, my name was sort of associated with leaks in the Mormon Church, and I began to get inundated with people. Had a couple more documents that I got after those videos from new contacts that we did release. That I guess at the time I was really working solo, so I released those documents, again, to some interest within the Mormon community, but nothing that was super newsworthy. But a lot of the people that were contacting me, if they had a hesitation about giving me these documents, it always revolved around maintaining their anonymity. And it wasn't that they didn't trust me to protect their identity. It was more that they were worried about somebody hacking my computer and getting access to the conversations and somehow figuring out who they were, et cetera, et cetera. So I had already been thinking prior to those October videos about creating a website for people to submit things. And this huge response and this huge demand that I was seeing really gave me that sense of urgency to get it done now. So I put together a team. I kind of put a call out on Reddit, and I got an overwhelming response. My initial call out was just for somebody with the expertise on the web development side, and I got an overwhelming response. I would say probably about 30 people contacted me. Some of them had nowhere near the experience I needed. Some of them did. Some of them I couldn't really vet properly to where I trusted them enough. Anyway, at the end of the day, I narrowed it down to somebody, and we started to work together, just the two of us. And we brought on a web designer, and we then brought on somebody to do social media, and we've also brought on since then another somebody who's acting as sort of a special advisor. And we busted our butts for 2.5 months, and the result of that was the website launch on the 19th. So real quick, this isn't going to take much longer, and then I'll get to your questions. So that's kind of the background of how we got to today. So I just do want to do a quick little intro for the team. We have the web designer is somebody who for now is going to be completely anonymous, and hopefully one day that'll change. And for the development side of it, we have somebody who is going by the name Ryan H., and he has served as a consultant and somebody to consult with the main developer, troubleshoot, brainstorm, things like that. And the main developer, who really is responsible for the whole back end of the website, is going by the name of Privacy P. Pratt. Again, I hope all of these people eventually will be able to come out with their full identity, but right now there's just familial reasons mainly why they can't. Anyway, there is the fourth member of our team who heads up the social media side, although I am on the social media as well, but he is probably posting a lot more than I am. His name is Scott K. Fawcett, so he is able to be out his name-wise. Now, Scott is out of Salt Lake City, and some of you in Utah may know that name. He's a radio show host there on a show called Middle Grounders. Excuse me. It airs in Salt Lake City at 10 a.m. on Saturdays and is rebroadcast. That's local time there. And it's rebroadcast on Sundays at the same time. And the station is 860. I'm reading this because I didn't have this memorized. I apologize. The station is 860 KKAT. So people can maybe tune into that if they want to hear Scott talk. And I don't think it's, I don't live in Utah, so I don't listen to his show, but I don't think it's necessarily just about religion. I think they talk about politics and religion and whatever the current issues there are there up in Utah. So he's put a lot of time and effort and really a lot behind this project. Scott has. And then there's me, and I'm sort of the ringleader, and I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I'm handling all the media, and I'm basically making final decisions on all this different decisions we have to make, and just basically leading the group. And we do have another person that's part of our group. He's serving as a special advisor. I don't really want to get into what right now because for now I need to be able to maintain his anonymity as well. We are all volunteers. None of us are doing this to make money. None of us will ever make money doing this as long as I'm involved, which I will be involved until the end. There will be no monetization of this website or of this effort. We do have a GoFundMe set up, so you might say, oh, that's kind of contradictory. We have explained before, I'll explain here. The GoFundMe is simply, we are out of pocket money, that obviously to set things up. And we will continue to be out of pocket some money as the website needs to be maintained. And so the funds raised through the GoFundMe are simply for those kinds of things. Nobody will receive stipends either. You might say, oh, well, nobody's going to have a salary. Well, maybe they're going to get a stipend. No stipends, no salaries, nothing, no personal enrichment at all. And I made sure that all of these people involved knew that going into it. We will publish quarterly financials of any of the money that we bring in that helps run the website and with the expenses, etc. So people will be able to see that. That will be made available to everybody, whether they've donated or not. Okay, a couple more questions, and then we'll take here, and then I'll take questions. Okay, what's the purpose of the site? Basically, my goal, and I think I can speak for the entire team, so our goal is transparency. That is what we're after, and that it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing for the church. Whatever the direction that transparency leads to, so be it. We take the position that the church as a nonprofit and as a religion has an ethical responsibility to be open and transparent, not just about their financials, but about their official policies and procedures for their stakeholders, which in this case are tithe payers. So that those people and people that are looking to join the church, I suppose, and people that are interested, so people can make fully informed decisions about how they're going to go about their lives. And again, the information that we have released up to this point, I'll go ahead and answer this question so I don't miss it because I wasn't planning on answering this. No, I was not excommunicated. I did resign membership in April of 2014. Okay, so, see, I shouldn't have answered that question because I got off track. We were talking about the purpose of the site. Oh, yes. So the stuff we've released so far doesn't have to be negative by nature. Even if you look at the October videos that we released, obviously they got a lot of negative attention. But I also saw a lot of faithful LDS speak positively about the videos. They would say something like, "Oh, I actually like the way they operate. I didn't know about these meetings before, but I like them. I like they seem to be trying to stay on top of current events," or whatever the positive spin they would put on it. And while I may disagree with some of those opinions, I don't think that they're inherently wrong. So my point being is that just because that there's maybe transparency that the church didn't necessarily want, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a bad thing. And I'm actually hoping that there isn't a need for a bunch of leaks, because maybe something like this site will lead to more voluntary transparency. Although I'm not holding my breath on that. We are not specifically soliciting anything. We are not saying, oh, we want financials on how much is spent on City Creek Mall, or how much is spent on the Philadelphia project, or how much is spent on whatever, fill in the blank. We're not interested in asking for anything specific about anything. Our purpose is simply this: if there is an employee or former employee that has access to information that their conscience tells them deserves to be in the public sphere, and it tells them that to the point that they're willing to do something about it, we just want those people to know that there is a resource available to help them do so in a private, secure, and anonymous manner. Okay? Many people have asked if we're going to be hosting documents and videos on our website, which is a great question. We are going to. That's going to be phase 2 of the website, and we hope to have that feature up sometime in January. We will put everything up that we've released prior to the launch of the website, videos, other documents, things like that, plus everything going forward. For now, we're using YouTube. We're using some web hosting sites to host the documents just because we don't have the capability. And we wanted to focus on the submission side and get that up as soon as possible. And we really didn't do any work on the hosting side because we wanted to get that submission side up first. Do we still need help? I'm getting lots of offers for help. And, that's fine. I don't want to completely discourage that because you never know who's going to come across me. But please don't be offended if I don't get back to you right away, or I tell you that we're good, because right now we really don't need any more help in the immediate future. But you never know. Are there plans for collaborating with other projects, and or what are the future plans of the website? As of right now, we have no plans of collaborating. I won't discount it, but I'm not in talks with anybody for collaborating. I haven't eyed anybody for collaboration. And future plans are really simply what we're doing now, providing an avenue. Okay, we've got a lot of questions about this shirt that we posted. It wasn't an actual shirt. It was kind of a mock-up that we made, and it said something like, I don't have it in front of me, but it said something like, "Dear Elder Oaks, one of us is a confirmed homosexual." And a lot of people, it was kind of an inside joke. It actually was born on the night that we were trying to launch. We had some technical difficulties, and we were all pulling an all-nighter. And we were all kind of cracking jokes and trying to make light of the situation. And one of our team members, actually, it's Scott, is openly homosexual. And so we were making a reference to one of the 15 videos that was released. And it's the title of the video, if there are those that haven't seen it, is something like the apostles obsess over Chelsea Manning's sexuality, something like that. And basically, it's the apostles received this very well done briefing about WikiLeaks and the danger that WikiLeaks poses to something like the church. And at the end, during where the apostles questioned the briefer, all they cared about was the sexuality of Chelsea Manning, and they actually also wanted to know about the sexuality of Julian Assange. And one of the lines in there, I believe it was Elder Oaks, Dallin Oaks, he said that he asked if well, they said Bradley Manning. They used the name Bradley Manning. They asked if Bradley Manning was a confirmed homosexual, and that got a lot of jokes, the phrasing of it or whatever. And so one of us is a confirmed homosexual, and so we kind of ran with that joke. And we've had people ask if we're going to sell that shirt. That's not why we made it, but we've gotten so much interest. We may look into using that as maybe a fundraiser for maintaining the website. So maybe we'll sell those shirts down the road. Look out for that. Okay, last question, and then I'm opening it up. Why can't I leave the church alone, and or am I just a disgruntled former member? Okay, so, to me, the idea of, you hear it often within ex-Mormonism, you can leave the church, but you can't leave the church alone. This is essentially a thought-stopping cliche, conversation-stopping cliche. It's really devoid of any substance, in my opinion, and I usually don't even really like addressing the statement. But I would say this: when I left the church, it was, of course, very painful, emotionally, and even to the point that I would say physically. I was physically ill at times through the turmoil. You go through a cycle of grief, denial, anger, bitterness. I went through all of that, 6 months, 8 months, and it was debilitating. I did get over that, and most people do. So I would definitely not consider myself to be a disgruntled member. I really am just interested in transparency. I really am, although I know that the detractors will not believe that, and that's fine. As far as not being able to leave the church alone, I would just simply say this. If somebody were to spend 30 plus years, in my case 32, in some people's case 40, 50, 60 years, dedicating all of their thoughts and money and energy and decisions and all this stuff to an organization to later find out that it was all smoke and mirrors, I would actually be suspect of the person that could just simply turn that light switch off and walk away. So the idea that not being able to leave the church alone, which in and of itself is problematic to say it like that, but the idea that is a abnormal, I just completely disagree with the premise to begin with. And I would just say, to those, and also the other thing I would say is people who say that, think about this. The only people who make those statements are active believing Mormons. There are no former Mormons or non-Mormons or people who have never been Mormon. They never say things like that. It never even enters their mind. So think about that and where maybe that statement might be coming from. And also think about, would you say the same thing to, let's say, Leah Remini, who's talking about Scientology? Would you ask her why she can't leave Scientology alone? Or would you ask other people about that? If you guys see posts by Mormon WikiLeaks there, that's actually Scott. And yeah, he makes a good point. Scott is still a member of record. And we are the board of directors on the nonprofit corporation. And the other people are serving sort of as special advisors. And when their day comes that they can come forward, they will come forward. Okay, I'll start taking questions. Let's see. Those that say we can't leave it alone have never ever gone through the pain or experience. Yeah, that's well put, Liz. I agree. It's a lack. It comes from a lack of empathy, I believe. And the active Mormons that I know that even though they believe, they do understand like where I'm coming from, they never say things like that. Did you leave because of the church policy? No, I left a long time before that. The teachings of the church. Really, it started with discovering a historical narrative that didn't match up with the historical narrative I had always been taught, and that kind of led me down a rabbit hole. This was in the summer of 2013. I think the last time I went to church was in September of 2013, roughly. And yeah, going down that rabbit hole kind of opened my eyes to other things. And of course, I started to see about the teachings, the daily teachings, like, okay, maybe now I don't really agree with that anymore when put into a different context. So the policy, no, but yes, teachings of the church had something to do with it. And for the policy, just because I was already out. Something I've never talked about is all the gold the Mormon started with bringing me out. Yeah, I don't really know much about Mormon gold, to be honest with you, so I don't understand the question. Mormonism becomes an identity. We can't just walk away from that. It's still part of us. Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to be a more, it's kind of like a Jewish person who does no longer practices Judaism or maybe even doesn't believe it. They're still Jewish, and I don't know if Mormonism rises to that level of uh, of cultural identity as much, but it's close. So yes, how is your family? I'm not going to comment on my family, in any of this work. I'm going to leave that. But I will say this: I will say that I lost in summer of 2013. I lost almost all of my friends, and that was very difficult. Let things that are currently hidden come to light. Yeah. Oh, I did want to talk about. We have received some documents late last night. I haven't had a chance to go through them, um, and I am in contact with two really strong sources that are going to probably turn into some leaks. But I want to tell people that this is not a quick process. So where are the leaks? Where are the leaks? We need to be patient. There's a process here. And I don't want to get into the authentication process and all that, but believe me, we have all this in place. So I would say be patient and things will come. I promise you that. How do you religiously identify currently? I would identify myself as an atheist, but I know that's a loaded term for some people that are not atheists, and they automatically think that means that I say there is no God. So I want to be very clear. Right now, my position is this: I have no reason to believe there is a God. And I think that it is way more likely that there isn't than there is. I'm open to new information, but I would identify as an atheist. And that came several months after I left the church. So when I left the church, I still maintained a belief in God. But then I said, I've just spent these months investigating re-examining my relationship with my religion. Let me re-examine my relationship with God. You need to study. Oh, okay. Stephen is telling Kathy she needs to study. I didn't see Kathy's comment, but she must have said, Kathy, the church donates far less than most other churches. Yeah, well, Dallin Oaks recently was on the record saying the average charitable donations from the church is $40 million a year, which if you look at active membership in the worldwide, I think that comes out to around $10 a person per year. So I would say, I know I was not a rich person. I still am not. And I donated way more than $10 a year. So thank you for what you do. You're welcome. By percentage, for sure. I assume he means they don't donate a lot for percentage. The church, for those that don't know, it's estimated they bring in $6 to $7 billion in tithing. That's tax-free money, and by their own admission, they donate about 40 million a year. So, yeah, you guys can make your decision on whether or not that's enough. I don't know. You bowed down to me and my partners. I know about the One True trip. I don't think I'm going to be able to go this year. I'd love to go, though, in the future. Okay, Scott's the one writing those WikiLeaks things. He says he hasn't received any. His name's been attached to this. He hasn't been called into. It'll be interesting to see if he does get called into a disciplinary council. I'd like to see more of the backroom conversations between leaders and how they feel about inactive members. Mark, take a look at the 15 videos. I don't know if it's going to fully satisfy what you're looking for, but they do talk about the struggle of keeping young adults in the church. There's a couple of videos that address that issue. What is the One True trip? It's basically, my understanding is it's a cruise for ex-Mormons that Stephen, the gentleman that commented there, has organized. I do have some information on how much they make, but I can't really prove it right now, so I don't want to get into it. But I would love to find out hard numbers of what they make. But I can tell you, it's a lot of money. They're living lavish lifestyles, contrary to what anybody tells you. And by the way, on that, I actually am okay with them living lavish lifestyles because they work really hard. I have nothing against the apostles and general authorities being well compensated for their hard work. Nothing against that. What I would be against is it not being disclosed because of the nature of the nonprofit and they're supposedly donating their time or whatever. I do think that that they have a responsibility to disclose those figures. One, once you understand the concept of cognitive dissonance. If you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, look it up. I suffered greatly. Yes, I've read the CES letter. When I first started investigating the church, the letter had been written, but it hadn't gotten viral yet. So I found it a couple of weeks into my investigation. The thing I liked about the CES letter for me at the time, I'd already been reading all this stuff, and it was kind of a nice sort of capstone to everything. It brought everything together into one place and a very simple thing to read. So, yeah, I like the CES letter. It's good. I'd love to see LDS. Yeah, LDS true membership numbers. Definitely. Let's see if any more questions come in. Have you thought about leaking information about the FLDS groups? You know, I haven't even considered them or any. Somebody asked me the other day, am I going to do an evangelical site or just a generic Christian site? I really haven't. I suppose if somebody sent me something, I guess I would. But it's not even on my radar, to be honest with you. We know you can't give us hard numbers, but by lavish style, yeah, I don't even want to get into that. But I do think the information is going to come out eventually. I don't want to get into exactly how much I think it is based on the people I'm talking to. I think it would just be counterproductive, but... Okay. Did you serve a mission? Yes. Wow, do I regret it? I served in Barcelona, which was awesome. I love Spain. Here's the thing about me saying that did I regret my mission? I met my wife on my mission. So I get in trouble if I were to say that. But in all seriousness, I actually loved my mission. I had a great mission. I had a great mission president. My mission president is in the first quorum of the 70 now. He's a great man. I have tons of respect for him. I'm not just saying this now. I've said this in other interviews I've given. So I've defended him on Reddit in times when I probably shouldn't. So he's a great man, and I really, really hope that he's a true believer, and I have no reason to believe he's not. His name is Shane Bowen, for those that want to know. Any legal threats? No. Have you read anything on Damon Smith? You know, somebody sent me something about Damon Smith. I don't know if it was you, Nathan. I don't know much about that. I'll look into it. Legal threats? I haven't been contacted at all. No spies, no hacking. We are sitting back and waiting. I am not asking for any. I'm not going out soliciting information. I'm not. I've had people contact me, and they say, well, I've got this, and I say, hey, yeah, great, send it over. And they're like, oh, I filled this, I filled that. I say, you know what? No pressure. If whenever you're ready, send it over. That's the point. That's the position we're taking. Yeah, also serve, don't regret. Yeah, I had a great mission. I really did. I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't know any better at the time. I had no idea. I thought the church was as pure as white snow. Did you come up against depression when leaving the church? Now, I don't know I don't think it was like clinical depression or anything, but yes, I was down in the dumps. I'm fine now. I've come to terms with it. I, like you, have served, and it was a good, sad thing. I've since gone back and tried to find those that I baptized. Luckily in my mission, we didn't baptize a lot of people. Spain is tough. We had very, very few baptisms. I know one of my baptisms is not my baptisms, but somebody who I interviewed for baptism. They were part of the sister missionaries. I know they've left the church. I don't know about any of the other people. Next question. Are you simply dumping data? Oh, we're definitely vetting, because I expect to receive fake documents, people that want to hurt our credibility. And we're not going to release like people's personal information. Two people have offered me, the tithing records of famous Mormons. Oh, and I've rejected that. I don't want that. That's gossip. That's not, it's something that's got to be tied to some ethical situation. And there was a news story that made it sound like I had been offered Steve Young's tithing records. That's not true. They kind of edited the video to make it sound like I said that. What I had told them is that two different people have offered me famous Mormons tithings. They never told me who the people were. And then sort of in a second follow-up thought, I said, so if somebody wants to send me Steve Young's tithing records, I'm not interested. So I wasn't really saying that it was Steve Young's tithing records. It's okay. I mean, the point was there, but what is a single issue that you don't like about the church? Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's the lack of transparency and the fact that, in my estimation, the average member's perception of what goes on behind the scenes, it doesn't match up with reality. This idea of trying to sort of control the message so much and not letting the truth take you where it goes. Steer, not steal. I don't know. I must have missed that. What is the biggest? Oh, yeah. I actually think, that financials, I know a lot of people want to, they're really interested in the financials. Of course I am too, but I think the idea that there's going to be some smoking gun in the financials that is going to lead to the loss of tax exempt status and pie in the sky thinking, it's not going to happen. I will be shocked. I have seen evidence through the people I've been working with that the church goes out of their way to follow rules and regulations, especially with the IRS. I haven't released these, and I don't think I will because they're not really newsworthy. I have seen CPA opinions that the church has ordered to offer guidance on how to deal with certain tax issues. And so they go out of their way to follow tax rules. I think with the financials, the interesting thing is not going to be what laws are they're breaking, because I don't think they really are. And if they are, it's going to be like minimal, human error stuff. That there's no institutional attempt to break laws in that regard. I think the interesting thing is, how is the money spent? Okay, just like most Mormons will tell you, oh, the church spends so much money on charity, when in reality they don't. So those kinds of things. Simply put, it's a scam. Be transparent and own up. Yeah. I mean, I think the church will benefit long term by being, yeah, they're going to lose members maybe over certain things, but, long term, I think it's better for them. Are any business or political church ties? No, yeah, business, political church ties, yes. And in fact, one of the people I'm talking to is related to, church politics stuff. One of the videos is that made the reason why the New York Times did their story on those videos, because one of them had to do with church meddling in politics. Let's see. Well, if I go maybe 10 or 15 seconds without a question, I'll shut it down. But I will say this. I get this a lot. I don't think the church is ever going to be transparent, especially with their finances, because they have nothing to gain by it. Think about it this way. If the church tomorrow opened up their entire financials to a third-party audit that was then made available to the public, and let's say that it was all above board, which is entirely possible, it wouldn't be like a bunch of ex-Mormons running back to church, because nobody left the church because of that. That's like one bullet point in the long list of reasons that people leave the church. So they gain nothing by presenting a clean set of books. And if it turns out that there is something questionable in their books, they stand to lose people that are, especially maybe that are already starting to doubt or whatever, they stand to lose those people. So they do not have anything to gain by being transparent financially. How do you get a beard that looks that great? My wife's bothering me to shave it, actually. I'm probably going to shave today. I'll trim it. I'm going to trim it. But yeah, I want to grow like the long beard, but my wife doesn't like it. So you guys got to talk to her about that. Yeah, any church financials, if it's relevant, you can send them my way. What about Elder Oaks? Tanner, what do you want to know about Elder Oaks? You said it a couple times. Essay. No beards in heaven. So Jesus is not in heaven, huh? The joke that you see a lot is that Jesus wouldn't be allowed to go to BYU because of his beard. Yes, I've read Business Week's article. I like it. Thank you for your time and efforts, all of you. You're welcome. A good Mormon beard, yeah, like my great-great-grandpa Rowley. Yeah, beards were... Actually, I'm seeing the beards come back, though, even among Mormons. A lot of Mormons are wearing beards nowadays. I'm surprised there hasn't been a bigger push at BYU to get rid of that rule. I think, how people joke about, people lying or exaggerating ailments in order to get a medical marijuana card. I think that happens with beards at BYU because they can get a beard card and they come up with the most creative reasons they need a beard. All of a sudden, everybody's got eczema. I never heard of the elder oak. What is it? Are you referring to the shirt that says Elder Oaks, Tanner? Is that what you're asking about? Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what he's asking. Well, any more questions? I don't know. Maybe we can do this again in a month or so. What is the percentage of Mormon suicides per year? Yeah, I don't know those figures. I know that the Mama Dragon group tries to track that, and there's been a lot of suicides tied to LGBT youth in the last year, but I don't really have any definitive information on that. Are the top elders paid? If so, yes. It appears that, and I don't really know that this is like super secretive, but probably don't know. It seems from what I can tell from the people I've talked to that they basically turn over all of their assets to the church, whatever they have, and it's very possible they're given a large lump sum of money as well to pay off all of their debts that they may have at the time that they're called as apostles, and then as far as what they're receiving regularly, it's unclear. And I think a lot of the money they get though is under the guise of being on boards, being board members on some of the for-profit institutions. So let's see. I don't know of any major religions management that is transparent, so why expect the LDS to be different? Well, I mean, if there's any religion that's not transparent, I would say they need to be. I'm not. I've never been involved in any either. Yeah, I did not know Travis Alexander, but I know the case you're talking about. I was an active member when that happened. Travis Alexander. I followed that case very closely. It was very intriguing. I was shocked at how he was able to maintain active membership and hold a temple recommend with all of the things that he kind of. And I don't want that to sound like he deserved to get killed. By the way, he did not. But yeah, he was definitely living sort of a double life in Mormonism. The other for-profit avenue open to the apostles are book sales. Yeah, I don't know. Stephen, are you making a joke on the local churches letting you see their books? Do you think that's common? I think you're talking about Travis Alexander. I do think that there's a lot more young adults that maybe have extracurricular activities that would not be approved by the church than people think there are. Yeah, living a double life. I do think it's a lot more common than Mormons want to admit, but I couldn't quantify it. I don't know. Okay, so Stephen's saying that at the local level, churches may open up their finances to you. Yeah, and I've seen local level finances when I was an active member because of my callings. They're really not telling, because what happens is they send all of their money to Salt Lake City, and then they get allocated a very small budget to run their programs, and nobody really knows what happens to the money in Salt Lake City. Oh, Stephen, not LDS. Okay. Stephen is saying most non-LDS churches will show you their books. Yeah. I thought he was saying that the local wards would. I never knew that. I've seen local wards books just through my callings that I had. But right. Okay, Stephen, I got you. Keep coming with your questions. I mean, looks like the number of people watching keeps kind of growing. So if you still have questions, let me know. Why do you care what happens to that money? Well, we should all care. I mean, I donated a lot of money, and people are still donating money. I think it's important to know where your money goes. And if you don't care, then don't pay attention to it, I suppose. You don't have to care. But I think it's important for charities, for nonprofits to be open about, just as a generic statement, to be open to their members. Joel Osteen will not open his books. Okay, well, yeah, a lot of those big mega churches I don't think do. Held accountable. Yep, Jack's right. They have a responsibility. I would even go as far as to say they have a fiduciary responsibility to do right by their members. I gotta plug my phone in here because I'm getting low on battery. Let me plug my phone in. And now it's kind of hard to prop it up, so I'll just kind of hold it in my hand here. All right. Any other questions? You guys getting tired of listening to me here? It's crazy that even has to be. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get into the vetting process too much because I'll just tell you that it's going to be very extensive. I don't really want to get into it right now. Maybe in the future. Yes, it is true, Margaret, that Mormons are encouraged to pay tithing first no matter what. And that's not just something that gets said randomly in local level. There are official articles in the church's magazines that talk about that, about, you can't afford your rent, pay your tithing first, and God will bless you. And obviously we know that's not always the case. What do I have to do to get you on the one true trip? Yeah, well, Stephen, I know we talk sometimes privately, so if you want, you can send me a message. I really don't think I can go this year, though. No worries. I forgot what your question was, Joseph, so I'm not sure what you're saying. No worries. Oh, the vetting process. Okay. Yeah, I mean, one day that'll all come out how we're doing it, but. Oh, another thing I've said, and maybe you guys would find interesting, I've said in a couple of interviews. I believe, this is just pure my opinion, from talking to 25 to maybe 30 people now that are involved in church employment. The loyalty of the church employees is nowhere near the level that I think top management think it is. Because these people that I talk to tell me that they've all got their little secret groups of secret non-believers working at the church, and a lot of wink, wink, nod, nod going on in the hallways. And, these people have to live a double life because of not just losing their job, but family repercussions and things like that. And I think the church sooner rather than later needs to accept that they have a serious loyalty problem. I would estimate, based on my conversations, again, this is just my opinion, that the number of non-believers working at working for the churches at a minimum in the hundreds and very likely in the thousands. What do you think? Yeah, are the apostles TBMs? Man, it's hard to believe how they could believe, right? But it's hard to call for the operation of one's mind. I don't know. It seems to me like you could go as a 70 and still be a believer, but man, once you get to that level of 12 apostle, I cannot imagine how you could still believe, but maybe. Yeah, Scientology is probably worse. I would agree, based on what I know. Okay, the numbers are starting to drop, so maybe people are losing interest. Yeah, well, Mark, I think the church does say that you have to pay them if you want to see your family again. Because, no, not some whack bishop. Listen, if Mormonism is to be believed, me who has had knowledge, if I don't pay tithing, then I'm not going to go to the celestial kingdom, which means I'm not going to be with my family again. So I think that's definitely. Tanner, I'm not ignoring you. I'm sorry, I'm getting tons of questions here. I'm not ignoring you. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. All right. Maybe I'll take one more question. I'll take the next question and then wrap it up. Or maybe there is no next question. All right, guys. Hey, thanks everybody for following us and supporting us and liking what we're doing. And I thank you to all those that don't like us. The hate mail, I love the hate mail. Maybe I'll publish the hate mail one day. It's awesome. It water off a duck's back. I have very thick skin. When does the staff get a vacation? Never. And yes, so Peace out. We'll talk soon.